Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, young audience, dear friends, being here today to speak and celebrate together with all of you is truly a great honor. I appreciate this opportunity to reflect and share my thoughts and emotions about one of the epochal events of our lifetime. The 30 years anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall is being marked not only here in this great city, but indeed all around Europe and in the whole world. The Berlin Wall was the very physical embodiment of the Iron Curtain. And within days after it was torn down, historical changes swept rapidly like fire, or rather as the falling dominoes, first across Central and Eastern Europe and then via the Baltics and the Caucasus. They shook the walls of the Kremlin and brought about the fall of the Soviet Union itself. Extraordinary shifts in the geopolitics in the many far-flung corners of the world, many as remarkable as those in Chile or South Africa, many less so. They were perhaps inevitable in their nature, but still these changes were unquestionably hastened to occur much sooner because of the events 30 years ago in Berlin. The fall of the Berlin Wall transformed the course of world history and changed the lives of hundreds of millions of people around the world. It most certainly changed my life. 30 years ago, I was the only female member of the tight-knit collegium, top governing board of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Soviet Union. My then mentor and boss, chief of the collegium, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Soviet Union, Eduard Ambrosievich Shevardnadze, he promoted me from party posts in the Soviet Kyrgyzstan, among other responsibilities, to represent the Soviet Union in UNESCO. In those days, the wind of change was blowing to Berlin from Moscow. I remember how we thought of Honecker and other comrades in the DDR as some retrogrades who failed to understand, let alone embrace, the new thinking presented to the world by our charismatic new leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, or Gorby, as he became widely known in the West. Perestroika and glasnost were transforming the Soviet Union, and the new world order were to arrange itself almost only by the sheer will and magic of the series of summit meetings with the US presidents. Little did we know, of course, that soon the winds would circle the planet and become the cyclone out of control of the Politburo, sweeping ourselves from the ground. I want to credit the work a couple of colleagues and ambassadors of those days, Terechov, Kvitsinski, Bondarenko, those famous German European experts of the Soviet Foreign Ministry. Most of the reports we were receiving in those days were objective and accurate, results of very thorough analysis of the events in a daily changing West and East Germany. I do know for sure, and we read a lot of memoirs by now, within the Foreign Ministry, in very intensive diplomatic shuttle negotiations between the USSR and West Germany, USSR and Eastern Bloc countries, in the framework 2+4, went tense work on the future of Germany's, Europe, and about the results, just results of the World War II, on the future of the world. The question, did the Soviet Union at that point of November 1989 have much of a policy options in Berlin, is the subject of another deep debate. By the end of 1989, everyone who was not blind and not deaf got clear feeling. History has accumulated 100 years in 100 days. Selbstbestimmung of Germans in Eastern Germany took place. It was very important that inevitable changes in DDR went without bloodshed. That country will be kept from the fall into chaos. It is known that Gorby, who used to say that existence of two sovereign Germanys, this is the facts of specific of the post-war world developments. He thought that history should say now it's verdict, but it will take 50 up to 100 years. He believed so, but we do know that it wasn't like this. Today is amusing to read such a fact that border in Berlin was actually opened by a mistaken press release of the DDR authorities. In any case, I do want to take time to greet and congratulate Germany, the whole of Germany, on the tremendous success of its unification and the amazing turbocharged drive this country had in the last 30 years. I do not agree with all the press that focuses on the divisions and regrets and continuing differences between the West and the East. 30 years is historically a very brief period. Unlike fears of leading politicians in the late 80s, like Thatcher, the reunited Germany has never posed threat neither to its neighbors in Europe nor in a global scale. The reunited Germany was driving force for the enlargement of the European Union. The reunited Germany has been, despite the cost of Wiedervereinigung, a major donor of development assistance. Modern Germany has many reasons to be proud, but the success of the unification is best showcased the fact that the most powerful European, most influential women in the world today, and one of the most consequential German leaders of the post-war period, current Bundeskanzlerin Angela Merkel, comes from the East. I want to wish Frau Merkel my warmest congratulations on the most remarkable leadership displayed by her over the last 15 years. The world will feel much less stable and not looked after without her steadfast commitment and rational vision. Yes, 30 years ago, the democratic awakening has gained confidence in my home country, Kyrgyzstan, as well. 2 years later, in the summer 1991, we were catapulted to our own independence, with the Soviet Union no more. Independent Kyrgyzstan went through many challenges and changes. Today, my country is the most democratic, most open and reform-minded country in Central Asia. A big part of them, I have to tell you, was losing. Independent Kyrgyzstan went through many challenges. Big part of them, I have to tell you, losing around 100,000 of our ethnic Germans and Jews who immigrated from Kyrgyzstan to Germany. But we are happy that these new Germans still cherish their lives with the country of their birth. The latest example came with the 2 or even 3 German Kyrgyz football players who play for our national team. We are following, of course, with great interest the fascinating debate in the international academia and policy circles. Who was right back in 1989? It was amazing to read the series of articles in the New York Times who almost conceded that Deng Xiaoping was right in putting down the student protests in June 1989 on the Tiananmen Square. the tremendous achievement of the Communist Party of China that lifted in such a short historical period 1 billion people from the poverty has no analogues in history, and they are not yet done. China is only gaining speed on its way on smashing every possible record in infrastructure development, production, science, and yes, military build-up. Today, the public opinion of Russia blames almost universally Mikhail Gorbachev for being too romantic and naive and letting the winds of change blow too hard in such a short time. What can I say? I'm happy that the history turned the way it did. My country is independent, and our freedom is the priceless treasure that we will now cherish forever. Dear friends, history did not end with the fall of the Berlin Wall as it was once announced by Francis Fukuyama. History continues. We see it most vividly in the current challenges and the recent round of powerful shifts, some very sudden, some of tectonic nature, in the rebalancing of power and influence among the world players, large and small. The winds of change are blowing again. I want to conclude my expressing confidence, my speech expressing confidence that no matter what changes in geopolitics or technology or culture, one great human quality will remain the most powerful and will continue to shape the destiny of the nations around the world. It is the yearning for freedom on the same nature and example that was so vividly demonstrated by citizens of Berlin 30 years ago. That's why we can all say, wir sind alle Berliner. Thank you.
Thank you for your interesting statement. Any questions? Diego. Yeah, microphone.
Thank you so much. I feel very honored to listen to your speech. Thank you. I'm Diego. I'm from a university. I'm a professor of a university in Brazil. And I was wondering about the risks, challenges and opportunities that China, your big neighbor, represents with the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. Can you please comment on this?
I don't see any risks so far. My country has a 1,000-kilometer border with China, and certainly we get a lot of assistance from China. China is generous creditor of infrastructural projects, but each of us we should calculate, we should be rational with this regard, and all those risks and all the problems which have been described over the last period about China. I do believe that it is up to each country who should look at own opportunities. But we are the member of Shanghai Organization of Cooperation. It is a security organization the most. I do believe personally myself that China's rise as world power, it is so important, especially for the such conflicts like Afghanistan, for example. It's one of the deepest wounds, and as a member of Security Council, I do hope that this problem will be fixed with the involvement of China also, because we do need really resolve this conflict, and it will give us, for the whole Central Asia, such a very, very positive impetus.
Any other question? Please.
It's a pleasure to hear your presentation, dear, President. One of my questions is about Tiananmen. Do you think that China would open without Tiananmen or start its reform without students going to the square?
No, no, it is not my opinion. Look, as you probably, all of us who've read in New York Times, and I was impressed myself with such evaluation of the situation. But if, for example, Deng Xiaoping will not act like this, then what? What will be the scenario of development of China? That was probably intention of journalists. So that was the case, but I don't think that it was crucial or it was critical for the further development of China.
Any other question? Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you for the nice presentation. I would like to mention that you mentioned a lot of facts and you are a little bit romantic. Politics sometimes is romantic, you know. I remember the fact when in 1991, Helmut Kohl visited Russia, discussing with President Yeltsin how much will cost the construction of houses for the Soviet army's servants
Soldiers,
coming back into the Soviet Union. And he asked Yeltsin, how much you need? Yeltsin didn't know the figure. And he asked, there was a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, Andrei Nechayev, Minister of Economy of Russia at that time in the Yegor Gaidar government. And Nechayev said, probably we need 200 million Deutsche Mark.
Only.
And Yeltsin said, 200 million Deutsche Mark to Kohl said, okay,
Easy.
He's paid. And then 10 minutes later, Helmut Kohl said, I had 20 billion Deutsche Mark in my pocket. That's when the romantic is coming to the politics. That's happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.